Rolling Out TV takes you to New York City's public library. But you don't have to be quiet here. This is an open forum with the fashion glitterati in the audience and on stage talking about ways to make a positive change in the fashion industry. Black models have been absent on the runway and in editorial for a long time. Former fashion model, now agency owner Beth Ann Hardison, stylist Lori Goldstein, model agent David Ralph, designer Tracy Reese, and casting agent James Scully will lead the discussion. Let's sit in and see what all the frenzy is about, only on Rolling Out TV.
For so long, and you look up, 2 years is okay, but when it starts to be like 10 years, it's like a long time. So we felt the need to sort of like start having conversations, and the way to do it the best to sort of like push a little bit for change is to have public speaking. Our first gathering was on September 14th. And we felt that that was great because we initiated something. We got our energies all together. But what happened next was to have the opportunity to be here at the library live, and it felt like something that could be even deeper, because then I could bring some of the industry players up on stage, let you hear how they think, let you know how they work, let you see how they work together and what they're responsible for and not responsible for. My pet peeves have been number one is oftentimes image makers not having the eye to determine black beauty. These are the things that I find disturbing about the industry as it's falling today. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Okay. Number two, deciding one top working girl of color at a time is sufficient. 3, hearing that statement that black covers don't sell. 4, that black models having to compete against each other, happily fitting into the other, alone and being encouraged to do so by their reps. 5, model reps saying I already have a black model or 2. 6, fashion designers not feeling self-conscious about their lack of diversity. 7, image makers not making a conscious effort to demand black images continually. 8, model agencies holding their black models from being in black image magazines. 9, making it so hard to get black models work, agents get beat down and lose their drive. And number 10, celebrity blacks coming into the fashion industry in their nouveau riche style, not recognizing the problem, just enjoying the lights and media acceptance. All right, don't say amen, but amen. But I need your feedback as well. So what I would like to do is start the conversation, and then at some given point, I'm going to look into the audience and start the audience to have to come into the conversation.
I'm Michaela Angela Davis, and I'm a writer, and I'm on the board of Black Girls Rock. And this young woman, sister, the 9-year-old, touched me when she talked about having to manage herself in this world, and so it made me think a bit about all the young girls, because I used to bleed over magazines. And I was a stylist for many years, and when I was a young girl, I used to rip the heads off the models so I could just look at the dress, because I was very clear that that world wasn't my world, but I loved the clothes so much.
You knew that?
Yeah.
I never thought that.
Just pop the heads off, But what the isolation that we as editors feel often when you're sitting in the seat and you're one of the few and you're seeing all these white faces go by. And I remember that show that what Gaultier did, where it was just Kirsten McMenemy, and it was all black girls. And we're sitting there, I remember I'm thinking, oh, this is fun. And I feel the room shift around. Like everyone's feeling very uncomfortable. And I'm feeling, and it wasn't like jungle print. No one had bones in their noses. And what was wonderful, I felt how fortunate all the white people in that room were to have that moment, to feel just for a minute how I feel every single season. But more than that, the young women who feel so isolated by looking at the ones behind us, the ones that we're supposed to have as interns or mentors, they're coming to us so wounded and so hurt because they don't see anything close to them. Like when we went to the Todd Oldham show, you would literally roar when like Tyler walked down the runway, or even still Naomi makes you insane. Like, oh, I want that. I want to feel alive. I want to be free. I want to feel alive. And the models now feel so not alive. Like they look so dead. Like you literally can see their hip bones click in place. So as a young girl, to look at that is glamorous? For me to look like I just crawled out of Auschwitz? Not to mention, it's that bad. There was one time, if I wasn't on the front row, I would have left. Girl, I just want to give her a steak sandwich. But
I don't.
But it is this lack of thought of who's behind us, and I think it's a cultural problem. But the 9-year-old, it broke my heart, but she's so articulate that there was a hope right behind it.
Yeah.
But there are young girls trying to manage who they are in a world that is so not for them and so against them.
Okay, so let me just say one thing before I give Laura, because Laura needs to address this too. I agree with you. I want to say something. I always used to say for a long time that it was great before fashion mainstreamed, because the great thing about fashion, it was called the garment district, and then it became named fashion. Do you know how nice it was for so long when it wasn't part of the mainstream? Because it was a little isolated place that people went to who only had something to do with the business.
Market week.
Sure, exactly. It was never something that all of you would have known about. And it was isolated to that. It was a small island. And the fact of it is that it's mainstream now, because little girls I grew up that could care less about fashion. They had style. They didn't even think about fashion. They didn't look at any magazines. I did, because I was so attracted to Carol Lindley with long blonde hair. That was my desire, but it never affected my thinking or who I was. It just depends on who you are, if it affects you. And believe you me, to desire fashion and want to be looking at the fashion shows, you need some real parenting. Not talking about you, Michaela, but I know the fact that you need some real parenting to have right on your tail to be talking to these kids, helping them. Go ahead, baby.
No, I just want to say, it is a cultural issue, and it's beyond black or white. When you're looking at those models, it's such a small percentage. It's like, who's 5'10", who weighs 100 pounds? This is a big problem all across the board, and I think that's what's happening in this country, I believe, more than anywhere else. But it's like, we are looking at these standards that are not attainable. This is what's going on. And I just want to say that I just think it's a bigger issue than black or white.
Someone takes that stance, for example, and like a really big photographer, because you know what? No magazine is going to stand up against some big photographer that's going to say, I want her. No. They say, no, okay, you want her, then you have her, okay? We just need that one person, that one stylist.
You don't think it's true either?
You don't think so?
No, I don't either.
I think if Stephen Meisel turned around and he said, I want to use this, I want to use a black girl in a
anymore.
single story.
You know how hard it took
He
you?
did. He's the one that put Lee on the map. Thank
No,
God for him,
but
because
no,
otherwise I
but
couldn't
it
get
was
her.
approved.
That was approved.
It's
But
all
no.
approved,
But
but-
let's talk about the time you were around when he was trying to get Alec on. You remember that
Totally.
struggle?
He sent Alec to-
He fought and fought. Stephen is somebody who makes a model. But nowadays, he would say to me, Beth Ann, he started saying 10 years ago, hi, Tanya. 10 years ago, he said, you don't develop models anymore. There's no development anymore, Beth Ann. There's no development. So you can't develop a model anymore.
Well, the other problem, though, is I feel like now, and I even about her talking about being lazy and the industry being lazy as well, is I feel like the other thing that really changed the industry, almost for worse, is the web. Because, again, you have these castings that people watch, and a lot of people follow what other people do. So they just go on the web next morning and say, oh, she's having a good week, I'll use her. So, before we had that kind of access, you really had designers who just did what they wanted, and they liked who they liked. And you didn't see any of that until 5 months later or 6 months later. Now it's all like, here are the 10 girls that are doing everything now because Vogue.com says so, so we are just going to book. And it's a problem because for people there are some people who like who they like. And, again, with casting people and styling people, I will also say I work with Lori a lot, and there, as far as that goes, there are some people who are very collaborative, and Lori is very collaborative, and there are just some people who like casting people, and some stylists just have a complete and utter vision, and they go in, and some designers just don't have the strength to say, or they need them enough to say, it's almost your vision, as opposed to some people, like she said, that just come in with a fresher eye. Maybe there's a house that's been around for years that needs, kind of the rug pulled out from under them and just make them current, and that's fine. But then there really are just other players that really just come in full on with their agenda and their thing, because it's about being editorial, and because they're fashion editors, they can bring you this creed, and if that's their vision and you're trusting them on some levels, that's very bad, because it's not allowing anyone to just say, well, I don't care if she's in this magazine or not, I just like her because I like her, and I will credit Michael Kors with that, because he will stand by girls forever and ever, whether they're retired or not even in the industry, because he likes those girls. And I wish we could go back to people liking who they like. And again, it makes it hard, because with different clients, like for example Carolina Herrera, I'm looking for the carriage of someone that girls that fit into that mold, and it's just sad now because everyone just only sees one girl this way, and I think that is a big problem, because it alleviates a lot of people.
My name is Deanna Williams, and I'm in public relations with consumer brands. And I just have more of a comment than anything that's directed at Tracy, because she's a designer, and then our two casting directors. If the designer has the vision of how they see their clothes and how they see their shows, how much input does that consultant have to say, no, you can't use that girl because that's not how we want to convey the show? For example, Calvin Klein had a very beautiful show. We weren't represented. So I shut down, because for as much as I wanted to look at the clothes, the message that I got is he didn't want me in those clothes. So I want to say that with Tracy, and I only use you, Tracy, as a designer because you're the designer on the panel, but I know that we have Ms. Wayne here as well. I want to know, where did the designers and the consultants meet to say, wait, that's my vision, I understand that's your area of expertise, but we have to meet in the middle, because how I see my show is very different from how you're seeing your show.
I guess I've never worked with a stylist for the show, so I don't know how that's negotiated. I do work with casting agents, and I tell them what my wishes are, and they go after it. I mean, we had an incredible casting agent this season, and she accessed what I wanted, but she had to work for it, because the girls' pictures didn't necessarily come out in the runway packages, and she had to make some phone calls to get some of the girls that I wanted to have.
She had a great, honestly, I've told this to her, but this was her best cabine. I mean, it was the greatest quality of it. She got to throw with the two and get the girls that she could find, but you and your partner, yeah, she did. She really found, and girls, whatever she instructed them to do, they did. They wanted to be models. She wanted them to be models, and these young girls came out there and they modeled.
They want to do it, though. I mean, they've been told not to express themselves so much, or don't smile or whatever, and they're young. They don't. They're young.
And we're also getting paid. If somebody says don't smile, walk straight, you walk straight, don't smile.
The other thing, again, this has kind of been a byproduct of the last 10 years. Besides kind of Prada, one of the shows that kind of became the moniker of what people started to copy when this kind of fashion show started was Jill Sander, which was a very blank, though very beautiful, it was just a very blank, very personality-less. It was about just, again, a vision, and that became a style that a lot of people copied. And it has hurt the modeling business, because even when you go to Paris, and at the moment there are probably like 5 shows that are the holy grail of any fashion booking for a girl to get, and one of those being Jill Sander, one being Balenciaga, one being Prada. These are places where if girls even walk in the room and show any form of personality, it's the hand goes down and they go blank. So it's a lot of girls go into this business training to get those bookings. So already in their minds, they've it's also been kind of a bad effect of these designers. But on some cases and in some shows, casting directors and stylists are very, very powerful. And there are shows that I know that Leah and other girls that I know have had before, and the minute a new casting director or a certain stylist comes in, they're wiped out. And the minute that person is fired, all of a sudden they're wanted back in 30 seconds. And so some people hold a lot of weight.
My name is James Scully, and I'm a freelance casting director for fashion shows and advertising. And, first, it's very odd that I think if anyone told me 10 years ago that we would actually even be having a meeting about this issue, I find it very odd that we are even at this, at this juncture. But as one of the women who was speaking in the audience, she looks at magazines and they don't represent her. Having worked at a magazine, editors read the letters that come from their readers. So write your magazine editor, tell you you're not represented, that you're not represented. Tell them that it upsets you or annoys you, that you don't see yourself in this magazine, even though you are a reader and a buyer and a consumer. And I think just the beginning of that, and a lot of letters from a lot of people, would also begin, would be the beginning of a change. But I do feel like we need more. There needs to be a few more forums like this, but with more of the people who are in charge of this part of the industry to kind of bring it to their attention, because they're not here. So unless you bring them in a room and say we have a problem, at least it'll also open the dialogue for these people.
Do you think they're clueless? Do you think they're unconscious? Do you think that they?
No, I think they're conscious,
They
and
are
I think it needs to be
definitely
brought to their
conscious.
attention that they need to be more conscious.
It's really more the fact that there have been other people who have been asking me for some time to do this, and they're very dear people in the industry that felt a little bit like it had been missed, and they have been asking for almost a decade, whites and blacks. And because I was a person who made such other things happen in my history, that they just felt I was the person that can do it. And I was in Mexico
Okay.
in the hammock, and it was easy for me to do because that's who I am.
Okay. All right. And now, from this starting point, now, what would you like to see happen? What can we as a public out here? How can we get behind you?
I think just to be aware.
Be aware.
I think once you're aware,
Okay.
then it's something. I can't say boycott things. That makes no
Right.
sense to me. I think it's once you're aware, energies change a lot of things.
Okay. Is there anywhere they can go online, or all your supporters can go online? Or
No, soon come.
Soon to come.
So I just said they can go into, I'm doing a film, so it's called Invisible Beauty, and it's a documentary. So perhaps on that website, once it's up, and it should be up in like a week or two,
Okay.
then I can accept things through that.
Okay. InvisibleBeauty.com.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
That's right, theinvisiblebeauty.com.
The InvisibleBeauty.com.
That's right.
All right. Thank
All
you.
right. Nice
Keep
to
up the
meet
good
you.
work.
Thank you very much for
Okay.
coming. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Sure.
You did, didn't you?
I did.